Hey guys, long time no see. Welcome back to my kitchen. So today we are going to be doing another recipe. Our rain has just made all of the tomatoes happy beyond belief. So I'm harvesting anywhere from 2 to 6 pounds of tomatoes a day, depending upon how they're feeling about life. So we are going to go on ahead and make some tomato sauce, and I thought you guys would enjoy joining me here in the kitchen since I am splitting my time between here and out there. I thought it would be good to show you what I do with everything that I'm growing, because that just makes sense. So let's go on ahead and get slicing and dicing. Alright guys, so we have chunked up our tomatoes and put them into 2 baking dishes. Now obviously I had a lot of tomatoes in this instance. If you don't have this many tomatoes, you do not need to have pans this size. Whatever size that you have on hand is fine. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to use the herb salt that we made on the last video for this recipe. We've still got some rain showers going on. I'm gonna try and run out there and see if I can't grab some of my fresh herbs. Probably grab a little bit more rosemary, a little bit more basil. I'm also going to dice up some garlic and onion and put them into the dishes. Mix it up really, really well, and then all I'll do is just shove it in the oven for about 25-30 minutes on 375. For our oven. Of course, double check the time. I would go on ahead and set it at the 375 and then check it at about maybe the 25-minute mark, and then if you need more time than that, go on ahead and do it. For the amount of tomatoes that I have in here, I've got these guys pretty full. I'm banking it's probably going to be closer to the 30-minute side. If you don't have this many tomatoes in there, you probably won't have to worry about it. The main thing that you're going to be looking for in the oven is that the tomatoes are going to start juicing down in the bottom. You'll see it kind of get bubbly and ooey gooey, yummy, herby smells will be happening. And then the tomatoes on top will also kind of brown a little bit. We don't want them black, just brown. Okay, so let me go on ahead and start chopping up that garlic and onion and adding in the fresh herbs as well as the herb salt, and we will work on popping these guys right in the oven. Alright, so we've got our tomatoes roasting in the oven with some garlic, some onion, some herb salt, and also some herbs from the garden. Now, a couple things to mention. Number one, I think I mentioned this actually at the beginning of the video. If I didn't, this recipe is adaptable. So if you want more garlic or less garlic than what you saw me put in, I put the equivalent of 3.5 cloves of garlic in each one. I also did a half of an onion and then quartered it and used a quarter for each one. So if you want to use more or less of any of the quantities that you saw here, feel free to do so. For the herb salt, I want to say I put about the equivalent of a tablespoon in, roughly, and then just kind of mix that in. I added some cracked black pepper. I also added a fresh red chili pepper. If you don't like red chili pepper or you don't like things that are spicy, feel free to leave it out. Also, if you don't like basil or oregano or any herb really, if you don't like it, just go on ahead and leave it out. This is a recipe that you can make for you and your family. Now, food storage wise, confession moment, we do not have a space for canned goods here in our home. We're just a little over 1,000 square feet, and that includes the garage. So that being said, and the garage is also not insulated, so weather-wise, it's not good. It gets very, very cold and it gets very, very hot in there. So it's not a place that we can keep canned goods, which, if you are looking into doing canned goods, is something to take into consideration. Go on ahead and take into consideration where you are in your life right now and adapt what you can to what you are able to do. So for us right now, we freeze, and this recipe is beautiful frozen. All I do is I actually take quart Ziploc bags, I fill them halfway full, lay them flat on a baking sheet, and stick them in the freezer. They're already pre-portioned. I can use it for spaghetti, bolognese. I can do chili with it. I've added it just straight as is when I wanted to thicken up a beef stew. Oh, I've also added it, which is really, really yummy, by the way. I went on ahead and I added it into a roast in a crock pot. Just dumped a bag in there. Awesome. If you're somebody who does, which we don't really do, meatloaf, this would also work for meatloaf. As I said, completely adaptable and usable for multiple things. So, if you are somebody who is an experienced canner, or if you are looking at canning and you have the space to can, this can be water bath canned. Not a problem. You can totally do that and then just store it. Just make sure that you follow, of course, the manufacturer's directions for your canning unit, and then also allow it to cool down for the appropriate amount of time before putting it on your shelves. All we got to do now is wait and enjoy the aroma. So I will see you here in a little bit when I pull these bad boys out of the oven. Alright guys, so at this point our tomatoes have cooled and they have developed their own juices. So let me go on ahead and turn you around real quick so you can take a look at what the end product is after it comes out of the oven. Okay, so as you can see, it's got some juicing in there, and you'll see it when it's cooking. You'll see it bubbling around the edges, and that's usually a good sign that it's ready to be pulled out of the oven. So now the only other thing that we are going to do is we are going to blend this now. And I don't worry about pulling out any of the herbs or anything. You could if you wanted to, but in my food processor, they break down in there and just add some extra flavor, especially when I do a soup stew or a spaghetti after it's marinating in the pot for a while. All of those fresh herbs that are still in there that have been roasted with the tomatoes just develop even more. So I've got no problem leaving them in there, But like I said, if you don't want them in there just for aesthetic reasons, you can go on ahead and pull those out at this point. The other thing is I'm going to reserve the liquid. So I'm not going to get rid of the liquid. I'm going to add in all the tomatoes into my food processor and keep that. The reason being is sometimes certain tomatoes, such as like a paste tomato, is a little bit thicker. So because it's a little bit thicker, sometimes the consistency, you might want to thin it out a little bit, and just keeping those juices to the side in case you need to thin it out slightly comes in handy. If you don't want to do that, you could add olive oil instead to smooth it out even more, which will make it even a little bit more pasty in texture. So if you're looking for a more pasty sauce, that's something else to consider. You may want to go ahead and add some olive oil in instead of the juice. I'm not anticipating needing the juices for this one just because I have a lot of the black Krim variety tomatoes in here, and they tend to be a little bit softer. So I may or may not need the liquid, but like I said, I like to keep it on hand just in case. So let me go on ahead and speed up this process for you and show you where things go from here. Okay guys, so I have officially blended everything down to the consistency that I'm looking for. Now I like mine a little bit more on the chunky side, so I'm okay with seeing bits of tomato, bits of onion, bits of garlic in here. If you want it smoother, you can just go on ahead and process it down a little bit more. And it turns out that I was right. This batch, I definitely didn't need to add any of the leftover juices from the pan. And that is all right. So now I am just working on filling up my little Ziploc quart bag here halfway full. And then I will lay it flat on our baking tray to go in the freezer. And I've just found that that's a nice way to do it, primarily because it saves space in our freezer. We do have limited freezer space, and obviously too, there's the whole issue with getting freezers in right now. So I try to take up as little space in there as I possibly can. So yeah, it's about halfway. And like I said here, let me get this a little bit closer. You can kind of see like garlic chunks in there. Yeah, so I'm just going to lay it flat like that on top of a baking sheet and freeze it. Usually overnight is about how long it takes for it to completely go solid, and then I can pull out the baking tray. So that's it. Nice and simple, nice and easy. This would be a great recipe to work on with your kids too, if you're interested in getting your kids involved out in the garden and then getting them involved in cooking in the house. It's fun, it's easy. Kids usually love to season things, so yeah, it's a really nice recipe. I'm going to say that. So if you guys end up trying this recipe, go on ahead and comment down below and let me know what you think about it. And as always, guys, keep it simple, natural, and essential, and enjoy your tomato sauce. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.